Pacific Court, but then in 2012, suddenly we're above Idaho Falls, which was very expensive, and we're getting quite equal to Truckee. But as I said, I went on CNN, reputable website, I looked at cost of living compared to Truckee to here. They have a 25% more higher cost of living than
I think the Truckee comparison is probably a good comparison only as it relates to equal companies. They're doing the exact same thing we're doing. I think where we've erred on that is the fact, like you say, cost of living, California prices.
Yeah, and yet we made that equal here.
That should have probably been, but okay. I apologize for this question.
I think it's a good question.
Yeah, I apologize for this. This is on the website, so it's there.
Like my biggest thing is if you see something you would rather be worded in there, we'll issue an addendum. It's just a matter of.
I didn't read the whole thing.
You can really drill them when they come in.
I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion that we continue this discussion on whether or not to put an RFP out for salary survey until probably the fall. Once we're able to.
It's out.
I would like to make a motion that we cancel the RFP.
It was put out at the request of the executive committee that we do it right now.
Well, I would like to make a motion that we continue that until the fall.
I use that to put it in.
Can I make a comment?
Let me run the motion first, then you can discussion, I'll let you get into it. So, motion by I that we put a cancellation on the RFP for the late survey until August or later. Want to second that?
Second.
Second, can be any discussion with board members.
I've got some discussion also. The request, the way I understand it, is they would just come and give us a proposal. It wouldn't cost us anything.
I
Right.
realize that, but you
But
see.
don't we want to know what these guys are doing so that we can see if we're high or low? I mean, that's what I would love to
Every
do.
time you get a salary survey, it will always be higher. Okay, that's the reason why we do it, is to get higher salaries. And you're never going to see a salary survey come back and say, oh, you really are paid too much. It's like I was telling Bob, every time you get a land surveyor out, the line's going to move. You're never going to get two surveyors to agree to the same line. Same thing with the salary survey.
Well, I don't quite agree, Heidi, because we have, in our appraiser's office, they go out and they do appraisals, and people's properties either go down or they go up.
Well,
Based on average sales and what things are.
right.
And I think that's what this request would do. It would give us an idea of what other people are paying in a comparable situation.
So you're not going to
So,
use Truckee then?
well, I don't know who
What
it
if it
is.
went down?
But I think when that
Well, if
person
you
comes in
consider
to
the
give
cost
the,
of living in California, Truckee's a good comparison.
Are we going to use Pacific Court when they have millions of customers?
if I can finish, I think when that person comes in to give the proposal, I think that's what we ask them. Who would you use? They would make a suggestion and say, would sooner not use them, would sooner use
It's
a
up to
Pacey,
them to define the
Logan,
period.
St. George, someone that's in our geographical area, because a lineman is a lineman, I think, wherever he works. I mean, maybe the general manager is different,
I understand that. I
but
just
why
feel
wouldn't
like-
we get the comparisons?
I
Would
just
you
feel
be
like-
prepared to lower it if it came in lower though?
Well, I don't know if you can, I don't know if you can lower
That's what I'm
salary,
saying.
but
I
at
don't
least you
think we
can
need to
freeze
lower
them.
it. Yeah.
I mean, if you've got the information, but how can you just look at somebody's salary and say, we're paying this secretary $20 an hour because we think that's what they're worth? I don't know how I think that.
So we're going to assume that what we have already is not correct, so you want to get a new one.
I don't know if I'm assuming that at all.
I'm just
I'm
saying-
saying that they done the study 3 years ago and that information came, and so it was paid, but times change. Our economy's changed, somebody else's maybes have changed. I think the more information you get, the better off you are to make an informed decision.
We might learn something too by getting the full scoop on the way this swallow thing was handled. If we know that, it gives us a little bit better perspective to proceed with the other. And you'd offered that, like I say, and I apologize because that was offered to the executive committee, and it was one among us that didn't let it get presented. So I think, as I've read it over, I think it would be helpful and informative. That might help us to decide better what to do about this RFP.
Well, I just think it's time to wait.
I mean, it's
on
already
these kinds of
done
costs.
as it is.
It doesn't cost us nothing to get the
It is
proposal.
going to cost us if we pick someone.
Okay, but then you can go and make your motion, say,
We're
you know
right
what,
now, we're over
that's
budget.
enough.
We're over budget on professional services. So I
This
think we
doesn't
should
cost
wait.
us anything to get a proposal.
That's not the point. When we pick someone, we're still over budget right now in professional services.
I think what Jake's trying to make a point, Heidi, that the proposals are gonna come in. And if the board doesn't want to proceed beyond that point, then you can make a motion, say, stop it here, it won't go forward.
That's exactly
Well,
what
I'm
I'm
just
saying.
saying that all salary surveys have an incentive to usually increase salaries. I mean, that's all we've seen since 2011
I think what
here.
we can do is, if we do pick one, that's got direction, I think the parameter the board ought to put a pretty tight one, and certain areas just go off the list, we don't need to do. If that's where they went to the board, and we find down where we want it to go and compare it, that's what the board wants to end up doing. But as far as continuation of the RFP, I wouldn't mind just seeing what the cost would be, and have some presentation, maybe give some more education, but that you two may be more involved than I am with that type of process, at least to educate the board.
Do you know how long typically those numbers are valid? Like if they do an RFP, they say this price is good for 90 days, or how much
You can put
time?
in there and make them over whatever. You say, we want you to good for a
What
year.
we've done in the past is make them good for a specific calendar year, then we use COLA adjustments on the wage schedule.
I mean, like for the RFP, like, yeah, for the people coming to do the salary survey, because if we say, well, we probably won't do it now because we're over budget, and then
That's
they
a
have to
question
redo
you
the whole
can ask
proposal
them.
in 3 months.
Yeah, that's one you can ask them in the interview, hey, is this good till
If we decide we
January?
don't want to do it until
And
we
they
know.
say,
Normally, they would say these prices are valid for a certain time.
Right, that's what I'm saying, is
Yeah.
that would be an argument for waiting a little bit.
I think it's an argument to wait because we're over budget in the professional services category. And I think until we can afford things, I think we might have to wait.
Any discussion on the motion? Blaine, that comment?
We will start to develop the strategic plan and the 5-year budget projections, of which, of course, a significant factor is wages and salaries, beginning in August. We have to begin those studies. If we defer this till August, then we will simply have to use the best information we have at that time, which would be the board's decision on the COLA based on information that's available on September 1st for us to be able to prepare the budget for 2015. And before that, the strategic plan for 2015 through 2018. Normally, we would have that strategic plan approved by the board in September, so that we could then incorporate the strategic plan items into the budget preparations for, number one, the operating resolution, which will go to the board in October for approval in November, and then the budget, which will go to the board for review and consent in November and approval in December.
Mr. Chairman, could I call for a party only vote on this motion?
No, I just, everybody.
There's no discussion on a party open vote in the bylaws. It's called for and then that's the way that the vote goes. Is that
I
called?
think it's best interest of everybody else on this one. So if you speak forward to the whole board.
Representing a third of the ratepayers in this organization, I would request that I would be allowed to vote.
So we're not going to follow the bylaws and just do the party only vote or the owner only vote on this?
There's no requirement, it says that this would be a party only vote.
No, I'm asking for it.
You're asking for it,
Yes.
and I don't see the reason for it.
That's too bad. That's too bad. We're going against our bylaws then.
Joey,
I think she's correct.
if that's the way it is, then it'll be a party only vote then. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Nay. Motion fails.
Okay, the position that I've taken with respect to anticipating that this might come up in connection with a number of issues is that the motion fails, and that means that we will continue with the RFP.
Could I make a comment in regards to my feelings about executive committee? We did sit in a meeting where this particular proposal was presented. been on the books since last board, I guess. I mean, it's been planned, you told us about it. This came out. I would have much preferred, and I think that we need as an executive council to be more in tune to this, that we don't let anything pass by us as an approval just because we're there. I think this would have probably been far better to have presented to the whole, this request for proposal, everyone should have seen it at the same time we did. We're going to have to be more cautious about doing things in the executive committee that really impact the whole board. I'd like to, you know, and that's just my feeling. So that said, I'll just move on. That's all I need to say about that.
Let's get back to this, the information on the swallow. Do you want a detailed version? Do you want to talk about, discuss it? Or just...
Is that the last item on the agenda?
It will be, and then I want to go to executive session.
Call me when you get the executive session.
I don't see any point in discussing it now. Is there a reason we would discuss it at this point?
Discuss what?
The swallow survey in detail?
Probably not a discussion, but more of a review to see what SWAL has done to bring us to where we are now. If we don't understand that, understand it thoroughly, we have no position to contradict or want to do differently or want to do better. It's just my thought that it's some good documentation. I've got a couple of stones to throw at it as we move in and move along, but it's up to the rest of the board.
Colin, what would you want? 15 minutes worth?
It won't serve us too well on a short term. It's about an hour at minimum.
Carly's our presenter on that. Carly, what do you think?
I don't know how, I mean, we've got the information, I don't know how helpful it would actually be to review the 2011 stuff in light of the fact that we're looking at a new RFP and a new study.
And I think everybody's got everything. I know that our meeting together, executive session, I saw that the rest of the board got copies of that. And then I think at Alan's request, I think that there was a second compilation that went out to everybody at one time.
When the board asked us to forward it to the entire board, we sent it to the members of the board, not only the executive committee, and we copied the board members on that transmittal. The executive committee, excuse me.
I guess any questions I have on this, I'm happy to just do it on an individual basis.
Motion board is what we'd like to do.
I'd like to make a motion that we continue to study the information that they've given us. I have some more research that I'd like to do on it myself. And then perhaps when we consider in the future the RFP, we might be able to discuss it further.
The continuation. First, we have continuation on the discussion on the report.
Second.
And a second, any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. It's up on the agenda for continued discussion on the time. We'd like to do have an executive session for the board only members.
You would say to do it later tonight, but we're going to do it now.
That's one of the agenda items that we have. And